What's happening, everybody? All right, so day 3 is come and gone of Dodge's big reveal, and with this EV, I'm left with no more questions than answers. We really weren't given that much, and I'll tell you guys what, I actually tried putting together like a script, a little thing like to keep me in line here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick to the script on this. I literally have no more questions and no more answers with this contraption, this Wraith-looking thing that they rolled out there. Y'all remember the movie The Wraith? Anyway, long story short, if you don't know what it is, Google it, but it's basically, that's what that car is, more or less. Anyway, let me get to this thing. First of all, what was with the noisemaker thing? I didn't quite understand the meaning of what they were doing by driving the thing around the back of the crowd and coming back in. Did they get lost? Did the car get stuck in drive? What exactly was I looking at? What was I experiencing with that reveal? I still don't know what message they were trying to put out there. Did the noisemaker get stuck on, I don't know, some kind of a feedback loop? Very confusing, very off-putting as a matter of fact. I'm there to see the car and get specifications, not get, I don't know, pummeled in the ear holes by whatever sound that thing was trying to make. Very weird. Anyway, one of the other things the guy was talking about was, well, this car is so aerodynamic and this is the muscle car of the electric age and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, hold up, you're talking about really not needing the aerodynamic because you're going to make all of this power or whatever, like you're doing something new. The Hummer EV, basically every one of those things have sold and it's about as aerodynamic as a barn. The Ford Lightning all-electric truck. Again, not really an aerodynamic contraption, and people are clamoring all over it. They're already showing it basically walking away from your TRX. The Riven, yet another truck, maybe on the ropes in terms of customer service, but still screams nonetheless. And oh yeah, by the way, not really last, but certainly not least, the Plaid Model X, you know, that 9-second SUV. Anyway, those are some vehicles that didn't really care too much about aerodynamics from a practicality standpoint and are out there selling and rocking it as an EV already. You're not the first, second, third, or fourth to this party. And to that point, what is the deal with calling it a concept? Aren't you only like a year away from releasing this thing? You might want to kind of step it up a notch if this is going to be what you're going to release into the world. Again, that Dodge Charger, Daytona, Banshee. How many names do you need? Honestly, like that, it doesn't make any, like, you know something's up when something has that many names, like it's trying to build itself up. Like if a person goes by one or two names, you might say, okay, well, that's just how they roll. But if somebody wants you to call it by all four names, come on, man, what are you trying to make up for here? Anyway, just another thing that was a little bit distracting throughout all of this. Another funny thing, we break the rules, right? This is the EV they don't want you to have, but you're breaking the rules. Wait, can I just remind you of the other cars I just mentioned that were really in a way breaking the rules? Trucks, Hummers, that is something like, what's more gas guzzling than a freaking Hummer? And you're going to talk about it's a muscle car that breaks all the rules. By adhering to the rules, you're breaking the rules. This is the EV they don't want you to have. What kind of circular, like snake eating itself argument is that? One other thing that I found interesting about all of this is that there was no mention of price, because you know that it's going to be astronomical. But not only is the price of the contraption going to be high, but, oh yeah, your direct connection, 9 different unlockable power modes. What is that supposed to be? Like, do you buy the car as more or less a hobby kit and then you can add or subtract or whatever different driving modes? What is that supposed to mean? Donut mode? Drift mode? What is all of that? Listen, the little press to pass thing was pretty cool, but I'm completely not understanding what any of that stuff means. And if you did buy the car, let's also think of it from this point of view. How many features have been waterfalled from top tier trim levels down to like lower V8s, like the 5.7 or the 6-cylinder. And listen, if you don't think that's a big deal, try being the guy that buys an SRT 392 in 2016, only to see your hood on 6 cylinders just a few years later when you bought the thing specifically to have a distinct look. Or you've got a Hellcat with a very distinct facade, front end treatment that is now on lowercase cars. Little bit of a jab, if you will. Nothing wrong with waterfalling in its just rawest form, but when you're waterfalling top tier trim levels down, what's there to look up to for a brand that wants you to grow within the brand? Remember that. That's a bit of a different story. So is it going to be the case where I buy a car, load up on 5 or 6 of these 9 drive modes that might be cool, only to have maybe the next year, the year after that, just come with all of these as standard? What the point will be? What will be the point for direct connection at that point? Again, lots to try to unpack here, and I'm trying to talk about this as a conversation because I don't have an answer for this. Again, I'm left with no questions and no answers. And I mean that in this. We already knew that an EV was coming. Showing us the EV is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with answering any of the questions about it. How much power? What's it gonna cost? What's the actual availability? None of that was ever actually discussed. Yeah, there were some things about, again, the drive modes, but again, something for the transmission, basically drive modes that make it act like it's got a transmission. Yeah, okay, adorable, but it's a gimmick. And by the way, everybody else in the theater of EVs doesn't have to resort to that to impress anybody. And they haven't had to because their cars and trucks are already out. It's just very strange. Again, I don't mind that they're coming out with an EV. What I mind is playing their audience with the introduction of an EV with no explanation as to any of the performance parameters that this thing is going to come to the party with. And because we didn't see anything with the Hornet either, going out there maybe running the thing on Woodward, maybe they could have done something like that with this EV. Put it up against a Plaid something, give us something to get excited about. Not driving around in a circle with some weird sound coming out of the ass of this car. Not talking about horsepower, not talking about performance figures, only trying to have a rally cry saying, yes, we're making an EV, and that was it. Did you happen to notice it was also the shortest of the reveals as well? It's like you ran out of stuff to talk about, big guy. Not surprised that you cut it short. So anyway, with that, that is a wrap on my thoughts on that Dodge Charger Daytona Banshee whatever. We'll see if it actually grows any legs moving forward. Thing's supposed to release in a couple of years. Hopefully they get their act together and we start seeing something come of it. Post up your comments. Let me know what you thought about that thing and we will catch up with you later. That's a wrap.